Hi there. As a turner, every once in a while we get what we call a design opportunity. Now what this really means usually is, oh darn, wonder what I'm going to make out of this now that part of the bowl is missing. Sometimes it's because you get a catch, but there's a lot of other reasons. This is one of those design opportunities. And the reason is, while it's beautiful grain, it's also all over the place. So while trying to do a downhill cut in this area would go nicely, over here the grain is totally reversed, so you're going uphill. And it was just a huge challenge. Also, this is maple. It's been sitting around my shop for a good 20 years, dry beyond words, really hard to turn, so I was sharpening my tools a lot more than usual. And it got to the point where I had to come up with a new idea, because while this started out about 8.5 or 9 inch in diameter, it's now at about 4.5. So it was getting to be a little smaller than the bowl I wanted. Had to come up with a new idea, so I decided to go with this goblet shape, if I can call it that, although it's a much shorter stem than you'll usually find on a goblet. So this was a challenge, and if you want to see just what I went through to make it, please stick around and take a look. Now I've got a tenon. I can reverse chuck this, put it into my 4-jaw chuck. Alright, I have it reversed now. I'm going to be turning it at 1000 RPM, and I've changed from my 1/2 inch bowl gouge down to my 3/8. Just want to round this a little better, and I'll start working on the top. I'm going to increase the speed to 2000 RPM. A little bit rough. I'll do some shear scraping here in a few minutes. Right now I want to just part this off, true up the top of it. Now I'm going to use my bowl gouge just to true up the top of this bowl blank. That's looking pretty good right there. Not doing a very clean cut. I'm going to try that with my spindle gouge. It has a nice sharp edge on it. Try this one. Got quite a bit of tear out here for some reason. I tried shear scraping and that just wasn't working on here. I've got some real wild grain in here, and it's given me a hard time. I'm going to go back to my bowl gouge and try taking a little more off of there at 2000 RPM and see if that'll help. Boy, this is being difficult. Not too bad now. I think I'm going to have to sand the rest of that out of there. It's just being hard to get along with. Well, sharpening it to a fresh edge seems to have made a good difference. I'm going to see what I can do about facing off the top a little bit. This is giving me a lot of grief right in here. I've got to do very, very thin cuts, and I'm going to change the shape. I'm not crazy about it. I want to bring it down a little more from here in. Well, I think I'm close enough that I'm just going to sand this now. I'm thinking that I'm going to change this design entirely, and I'm going to use this as a base and turn this into a goblet. Let's see what this will turn out like. I think that'll look all right. I'm going to just go in there with my spindle gouge so I can get in a little closer. I think that's all right. Going back to the sandpaper now. I have it sanded to 400 grit, which I believe is sufficient. Beautiful grain in here, and I think it's going to really pop when I oil it. This being a goblet, I may occasionally want to put liquid in it, so I'm going to just oil it with mineral oil. Now I'm going to drag away the tailstock, turn my tool rest, and I'm going to start hollowing out the inside. Again, I'm using my 3/8 inch bowl gouge. I'm going to start off here at 2000 RPM. It's not feeling as sharp as I would like it, I just want to use this half round diamond sharpening stick on the inside of the flute. Doesn't take much. And I've got a diamond card to sharpen on the outside. I just rock it on there until I feel it's on there flat. Just a very few swipes on here is usually enough. And I think that's much sharper. Now I'm trying not to go in too deep all at once. If I go very deep in the middle and keep coming out all the way deep and make it too thin on the outside, I lose all of the support that this wood is offering, and I could actually weaken the whole thing. So I'm just going to come across a little bit shallow cuts and do it a little step at a time. I'm going to try turning this in reverse so I can get over here, keep my head out of the way of the camera, see how this works. Feels a little weird turning from that side. Need a little more practice. Well, that was exciting. I had wondered if that was going to happen. I had the tenon in these large jaws, and it was so close to perfectly fitted that the jaws were closed completely. There was no gap here, and it was just slightly loose. You may have seen it trying to come out of there a few times before it finally did. So now I've put it into some smaller jaws, and we'll see how this will work. I'm going to have to sharpen this again. That is really dry. It's not cutting worth a darn. It's just scraping. So I'll go back to the half round diamond file. Then back to the diamond card. raised the speed to 2000 RPM. Try to get a little bit cleaner cuts, and I've re-honed the edge on the gouge. That has made a nicer cut. A little bit of vibration is coming in here now. This is getting pretty thin, so I'm going to try another very thin cut, and then I'm going to go to sandpaper. A little better. Now I'll sand this. There's some very pretty grain in there, very interesting looking swirls, quite like that. Now I'm just going to reverse this and turn the bottom off. I have it reversed into my coal jaws. Now I want to turn off the bottom. This is very thin, so it's not in there real tight. I don't want to split the bowl of this goblet. I'm turning this at 700 RPM. This is turned a bit concave. I'm just going to use my skew chisel to put a couple of circles in there for decoration. And then I'm going to sand this. And I'll be back after it's sanded. Well, there you go. I think it turned out all right, pun intended. I finished it with mineral oil. I think it looks nice, made the grain pop fairly well. I'll keep this around to remind me just what I went through. So thanks again for stopping in. Have a great day in your shop and be safe. Don't forget to subscribe. Come back next time. Take care now.